Hi, this is Brian Benton here with another My Town Media opinion piece called Showing Cause. The Premier of Queensland and Minister Scanlon have issued a show cause notice to the Mayor of Townsville in what appears to be a desperate last-ditch attempt to take down the Mayor. The Minister said that she had reviewed all the available evidence and decided to issue the notice. Coincidentally, on the same day, the Townsville Bulletin did another multi-page hit job on the Mayor, and in an article called Anatomy of a Scandal, they listed 18 events in the mayoral timeline that effectively painted the Mayor as a dysfunctional problem Townsville had to expunge. But has the Minister considered all the evidence? Well, I decided to do what mainstream media won't do and provide the Minister with 18 situations that, in my view, individually and collectively tell a very different story. In March, before the mayoral race had even been called, at least 2 ALP politicians had contacted the Mayor telling him what they were expecting of him when he got into office. It seems the ALP have had a political agenda of interference and control from before the Mayor was even elected. Then in April, councillors voted to deny the Mayor have any advisors. The previous Mayor, of course, had 3. Councillors then voted to virtually take full control of the process of appointing a new CEO. The Mayor had fairly suggested a committee of 3 was sufficient, 1 councillor and 1 independent consultant from the recruitment agency, plus the Mayor himself. Instead, they voted so they themselves effectively had full control of the appointment process and then proceeded to sideline the Mayor almost entirely from the process. Then in late May, on the forecourt of council, a councillor flanked by all other councillors publicly demanded the Mayor resign, and if he didn't, they threatened to move a motion of no confidence against him. A few days later, in the same spot, another councillor publicly called on the Mayor to resign. In my view, both these public displays calling on the Mayor to stand down were, in this context, a contravention of the Act and were a reportable misconduct. Then, a few days later, 2 councillors moved a motion of no confidence against the Mayor. They also went as far as to instruct the acting CEO to ask the Minister to suspend and even dismiss the Mayor. At the same meeting, councillors then moved a swag of motions in an attempt to rewrite the LGA Act to give themselves powers that they as councillors were never entitled to have. These motions divested the Mayor of virtually all his authority. Then in June, whilst the Mayor was on sick leave, the acting CEO proceeded to lock the Mayor out of Walker Street and refused to allow him to return to work for nearly a month. These and related actions, as I understand it, are now the subject of various serious complaints. Then in June, during the Mayor's absence, councillors passed a budget that in part had outraged Townsville residents over the imposition of parking meters without community consultation. And during this same period, and listen to this, it's important, whilst the Mayor was locked out of council, either a single councillor or a delegation of councillors or the acting CEO or others appear to have collaborated together to pause a fully functional and legitimate recruitment process for the position of a CEO. It appears that this pause effectively created a pathway for the acting CEO to then apply for the position of CEO. It seems the Mayor was deliberately excluded from these discussions and had no knowledge of what had transpired. That matter, in my view, needs to be fully investigated. Then in June, the councillors were forced to suspend their earlier unconstitutional attempts to change the Act. 2 councillors publicly objected, though, to having to take the action. One declared it was a galling thing to have to do, but only a fool wouldn't listen to legal opinion. To this point, the councillors have refused to rescind their motion of no confidence and instead appear to have dug their heels in and opposed the Mayor at every turn, some more outspokenly than others. One councillor recently referred to the Mayor's Facebook posts as the fictional section of the internet. The arrogance of some of the councils, but not all of them, in the chamber meetings is regularly on full display. On one occasion, during a public debate, a councillor was observed to have secretly given a 2-finger salute to the Mayor. It possibly reflected an arrogant dislike for him. Then in August, a confidential and private email from the Mayor to the acting CEO was leaked in its entirety to mainstream media. The leak was most likely intended to further discredit the Mayor and deflect criticism from other goings-on. Leaking of this document most likely contravened the Public Records Act. Then in August, the acting CEO openly stated that being a candidate for the position of CEO was not something he had considered, when in reality it appears that he had already thrown his hat into the ring. He effectively broke confidentiality by commenting publicly on the matter. Then in September, it was reported that at least 3 councillors, prior to a vote on matters relating to the position of a new CEO, may have become compromised by receiving favours from an applicant. Then in September, it appears another councillor leaked the mayoral letter in its entirety to mainstream media, and that action, in my view, also contravened the Public Records Act. Then, at the most recent ordinary meeting, councillors further eroded the Mayor's powers by denying him a right in a mayoral minute to force the councillors to vote on a motion without debate. And in the same meeting, they removed his right to adjourn a meeting and instead make any adjournment a vote of councillors. Now, what electors don't realise here is that many of the 18 points that I've listed above and many others that I've not mentioned are intended to strip the Mayor of any power and place that power in the hands of a cabal of councillors for what might very well be other agenda. So let me ask you a question. Who really should be showing cause here? Has the Minister really considered all the evidence? Has the mainstream media been morally irresponsible by not giving the other side? Is the Mayor really the problem here? Interestingly, to my knowledge, the Mayor has not broken any law as a public officer, yet every councillor, including the CEO, have been reported to either the OIA or the CCC or the HRC, and yet mainstream media remains silent. Let that truth sink in. Interestingly, the LGAQ has finally spoken out. One commentator made this point, saying, referring to the show cause notice, he said, "I think that just making a decision based on a reasonable belief without going through a tribunal process or recommendation from a fact-based, unbiased hearing sets a dangerous precedent where a minister could just sack any mayor or any councillor, and this has rattled the LGAQ and all mayors across the state." I suggest the councillors and the acting CEO have to carry a large amount of blame for this rattling, and it might come back to bite them very, very hard. They have, in my view, been the cause of much of the dysfunction in council, and at some point will probably have to show cause themselves. Tell me what you think, and watch this space, for it's far from over. Now, these comments and commentary are an honest expression of my own opinions and observations. Thanks for watching, and remember, the things that appear are not always as they seem. Bye.